Sagittarius, have you felt it lately? That strange energy surrounding you? As if every door to financial abundance is opening. And yet something in your heart is growing heavier by the day? They often say, money is a blessing. But in truth, money is also the final test. The one given only to souls ready to pay the price through awareness. Because money will come, but with it, something else may quietly slip away. And no one warns you about that. That is what today's message will reveal. Not to scare you, but to help you see more clearly. What is the real cost of prosperity, especially for Sagittarius? Comment below. I welcome prosperity with awakened eyes. Because this isn't just a statement, it's a signal to the universe that you are ready to step into a new chapter of your destiny. If this message is touching something deep within you, please like and share this video, so this energy can reach other Sagittarius souls waiting to be awakened. So, if money arrives as a sign, not a reward, are you willing to look back and ask, what did I release in order to receive it? Let's begin the first chapter of this journey, where the Sagittarius bow has been pulled tight and is about to release an arrow called sacrifice. Have you ever wondered, what makes a Sagittarius, born to explore, to seek truth, to live with eyes fixed on distant horizons, suddenly fall silent when money arrives? People wish each other, may you be wealthy. But no one ever tells you that money can be a slow-burning fire, one that consumes what you once held sacred. And for Sagittarius, a soul bound to freedom, money isn't always a reward. It's like an arrow. And before it flies, the bow must stretch to its limit. In that very moment between ambition and intuition, Sagittarius stands still. Not because they don't know what to do, but because their soul is listening to a voice only they can hear, the voice of sacrifice. Money arrives, but never alone. It brings lessons, it brings challenges, and sometimes it brings separation. I remember a Sagittarius who came to see me the year Jupiter, her ruling planet, returned to its natal position. She was a philosophy teacher. She lived simply. She never cared much for material wealth. One day, a large inheritance from an uncle was deposited into her account. No one warned her. She didn't expect it. But the universe seemed to have chosen its timing with surgical precision. At first, she thought it was a reward, a sign of divine acknowledgement. But within months, she lost her closest friend to a small misunderstanding over money. No words were spoken. No blame was cast. Only silence grew, and an unfillable void followed. Money came at the same time as a hollowness I couldn't explain, she said. That was when I realized, not everyone is ready for abundance, especially Sagittarius. In astrology, Jupiter symbolizes expansion, luck, and faith. But when it enters the financial houses, the second, personal assets, or the eighth, inheritance, shared wealth, it doesn't just widen your wallet. It cracks open places inside you thought had already healed. You start spending money with unease. You make investments with quiet fear. You begin to view your relationships through a filter of worth. Who's genuine? Who's taking advantage? And you start asking yourself, am I still me, or am I slowly becoming someone else? You once lived with only a few bills in your pocket and felt weightless. Now you have more than enough, but your sleep is heavier than ever. Because when Jupiter lights up your eighth house, what you inherit isn't just wealth. It's the responsibility to face the shadows you never dared to name. For Sagittarius, the journey is everything. Money, if it lacks meaning, becomes a burden. Like a wild horse chained to a golden post. Beautiful, yes, but unable to run. People call Sagittarius the luckiest sign, and it's true. Jupiter protects them. But because of that very gift, every blessing the universe grants them comes wrapped in a test. Not to punish them, but to whisper, don't lose yourself in this world. You've probably told yourself before, it's just an investment, it's just a better home, it's just preparation for the future. But every just quietly silenced a piece of you. Sagittarius doesn't live to possess, they live to understand. And money, to them, is not a destination. It's a tool to test if their soul is steady enough to hold it. I once read a chart for a Sagittarius man undergoing a Saturn transit over his natal Jupiter, a time of limitations clashing with expansion. He was a successful entrepreneur, but that year he left his lucrative business to return to teaching meditation. I asked, weren't you afraid of losing everything? He smiled. I lost a lot, he said. But I kept the one thing that mattered, myself. There are losses no one sees. Only you know what you walked away from to arrive at where you are now. So before you release that next arrow from your bow, pause. Not to second guess, but to listen. Where is this arrow taking you? And what are you prepared to trade in order to let it fly? If you're standing at a crossroads with a business proposal, an investment opportunity, a chance to change your life, remember, no one is stopping you from moving forward, but no one else will carry the cost for you either. Just ask yourself, am I the one pulling the bow, or is someone else pulling it for me? And if any part of this has touched a quiet place inside you, leave a comment below. I choose freedom over mere abundance. Because that sentence might just be your soul's first step toward remembering who you truly are. Have you ever said to yourself, it's just an investment? It's just a better house. It's just for the future. Every time you said just, a small part of you quietly fell silent. Sagittarius doesn't live to possess. They live to understand. To them, money isn't the destination. It's a test to see if their soul has become steady enough to carry it. I once read a birth chart for a Sagittarius going through a Saturn transit, the planet of limitation, crossing over their natal Jupiter. He was a successful entrepreneur. But that year, he walked away from a thriving company to return to teaching meditation. I asked, "Weren't you afraid of losing everything?" He smiled. "I lost a lot," he said, "but what I kept was myself." There are losses no one else can see. Only you know what you had to walk away from to become who you are today. So before you release the next arrow from your bow, pause, not to doubt, but to listen. Where will this arrow take you? And what are you prepared to give up to let it fly? If you are a Sagittarius standing at a crossroads, faced with a business proposal, a financial decision, an opportunity that could change your life, remember this. No one is stopping you from moving forward, but no one else will pay the price on your behalf. You only need to ask yourself, am I the one pulling the bow, or is someone else drawing it for me? We'll continue this story in the next part, where I'll speak about the fire of freedom and the quiet price you must pay to keep it burning. But for now, if this message touched something deep inside you, leave a comment. I choose freedom over mere abundance. Because that sentence isn't just words, it's a vow between your soul and the universe quietly listening. There's something beautifully strange about Sagittarius. They are the kind of people who can let go of everything, but never let go of themselves. They will walk away the moment their soul no longer feels aligned, even if they're living in a luxurious home with a bank account full of zeros, because for them, freedom is not an option, it is a way of life. But freedom, like fire, needs fuel to keep burning. And sometimes, the cost of keeping that fire alive is exactly what you never expected. I once met a Sagittarius man, successful, intelligent, he had everything others dreamed of, but he could no longer sleep at night. He told me he had turned down 3 major partnerships, simply because his intuition whispered, if you say yes, you'll lose your freedom. No one understood why he'd walk away from millions. But he did. Because to him, that wasn't sacrifice, that was self-rescue. Because once you trade your freedom for money, you'll never truly buy it back. What you'll get instead is a copy, a version of freedom controlled by schedules, contracts, and conditions. Some choices aren't wrong, they're just not yours. For Sagittarius, a journey is never just about movement, it is the expansion of the soul. And within every decision, whether it's about work, finances, or love, there exists a quiet conversation between the heart and the ego. Have you ever felt that? When someone offers you a golden opportunity, but your soul quietly steps away? When everything makes perfect sense to your logic, but your emotions whisper don't? Listen to that voice. Because sometimes that silence is not weakness. It's your soul remembering something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. I've learned one profound truth in over 50 years as an astrologer. Not everyone is ready for freedom. Because freedom, in truth, is incredibly lonely. It doesn't come with safety, it doesn't bring applause, it only gives you one thing, yourself. And sometimes, yourself is the last thing you dare to face. For Sagittarius souls currently moving through Jupiter retrograde, this is a time for reflection. Not to regret, but to ask, what am I choosing for? Out of fear of lack, or love for my truest self? The fire within you doesn't need to be louder or bigger. It just needs you to light it, with honesty. If you are standing at a major crossroads, with life-changing opportunity on one side and a lonely but honest road on the other, remember this: no one knows what waits at the end of that road. But the universe always knows when you choose what is true to you. Don't rush toward what sparkles, for compliments, for comparisons, for competition, because none of that will help you sleep at night. You may lose a deal, a sum of money, an opportunity, but if you keep that inner fire alive, you've lost nothing. If by now you feel something in your heart being quietly named, leave a comment. I keep the fire inside me alive, not for the world, but for myself. Because sometimes, just by writing it down, you begin to step out of the gray zone of being lost. And if you know someone who is standing at the edge of a difficult choice, share this message with them. Perhaps what you share today is the fire that keeps them from going dark tomorrow. Next, we'll dive deeper into a truth few dare to face: the hidden source of sudden wealth, and the real reason behind that emptiness you can't explain even when you seem to have it all. A secret waiting to be revealed in the 12th house of your birth chart, the place where everything you've ever hidden is stored: your light and your shadows. Are you ready? There's one place in the birth chart people rarely talk about, but that always makes me pause when I read for someone. The 12th house, the final one, the deepest one. The place where the soul keeps everything the heart hasn't yet had the courage to name. For Sagittarius, the soul of the journey, the wanderer of inner landscapes, the 12th house is a paradox. They love to move, to expand, to chase new horizons. But the 12th house has no door facing outward. It turns inward. It doesn't ask you to go farther. It asks you to stop and look into what you've always left behind. And you know what? It is in that still, hidden place that true strength is born. I remember a Sagittarius woman who came to see me the year she had just turned 50. Her birth chart revealed something unusual. Jupiter, her ruling planet, was entering the 12th house. As soon as I said it, her eyes welled up with tears. "I know," she whispered. "I don't know why, but lately I cry whenever I'm alone." She wasn't lacking money. She wasn't lacking achievements. But she was missing something no one ever teaches us how to preserve: wholeness of the soul. She told me that many years ago, as a university student, she had turned down a marriage proposal from the man she loved most, just because her family didn't approve. She never told anyone. She never said she had never loved anyone else quite like that. She chose success. She chose safety. But that year, when money no longer stirred her heart, the old memory knocked on her door. That was the moment the 12th house opened, not with crisis, but with remembering. There are doors that don't need a key, only the courage to turn around. In astrology, the 12th house is called the house of secrets, karma, and unfinished soul work. And strangely enough, it also holds the greatest potential for healing. But not everyone is brave enough to touch it. The world teaches you to do more, achieve more, prove more. But no one teaches you how to face the parts of yourself that have been wounded. No one tells you that some money comes as a reward, and some comes as a reminder that you are drifting away from yourself. There was a Sagittarius man whose chart I once read. At 60, he received a large compensation package after leaving his company. He thought he'd feel happy, but in the months that followed, he couldn't sleep, he lost his appetite, and he fell into depression. He didn't come to ask me about the money. He asked, "I left something behind, but I don't know what it is." His chart showed the 12th house activated by Saturn, the planet of life lessons. I stayed silent for a long time, then gently asked, "Did you ever make a promise to someone that you haven't fulfilled?" His eyes filled with tears, and then he said, "I once promised my mother I'd write her a book, but he never wrote it. Because of work, because of duty, because of money." His mother passed away 10 years ago. The very next day he began writing, not to publish, just to keep his word. There are wounds that don't bleed, but they still make the soul limp. There are things no one knows, but you know, and the universe knows too. That's why, when you begin walking into the shadowy places within yourself, money, fame, success, all step aside. To make space for a far bigger question: have you truly lived? I used to think that strength meant the ability to conquer. Now I believe true strength is the ability to pause. Because not everyone can stand still before the mirror without turning away. Not everyone can turn inward and embrace the part of themselves they once abandoned. For Sagittarius, strength doesn't come from how far the feet can run. It comes from a heart brave enough to stand still in the rawest truth. Have you ever felt something unnamed quietly lingering in your chest? An unfinished dream? An apology left unsaid? A gift you've never dared to give? Don't let them stay hidden in the dark, because the light you've been seeking might be waiting for you, right where you haven't dared to look. If you've ever heard a whisper from within, so faint no one else could hear it, write in the comments, "I am ready to listen to what my soul has never said." And if this touches something inside you, share this video, not so others will understand you, but so they might remember themselves. Next, you will understand why your family, society, or even you yourself may have learned the wrong lessons about money, pain, and healing. Because some values aren't stored in a bank account, they're buried in what you lost trying to live by the rules. Have you ever asked yourself, what would happen if I dared to live differently? There are journeys that need no map. There are roads that don't lead outward but inward. And there are homecomings no one sees, but the soul exhales in relief. Sagittarius is the sign of faith, not blind faith, but the kind forged in fire after loss, after free fall, after clawing your way back from the edge. After rushing far, fast, and fiercely, there always comes a moment when Sagittarius must stop. Not out of exhaustion, but to ask, what have I forgotten along the way? I once met a man in his middle years, a weathered face, eyes that once burned like fire, now only ash remained. He was a true Sagittarius. That year, Jupiter, his ruling planet, was in retrograde. He asked me, I did everything right, so why do I feel lost? I looked at his chart and asked just one question. Do you still believe in anything? He was silent for a long time. Then he quietly shook his head. And I understood. Because sometimes what we lose isn't a person or money or an opportunity. It's faith. Faith that everything will be okay. Faith that the universe hasn't turned its back. Faith that we are not alone on this path. Faith is like a lighthouse in the storm. You don't need to see the shore. You just need that light to stay on. When Jupiter goes retrograde, everything slows down, not to punish, but to give you time to ask yourself, what am I believing in? Maybe you're believing in results instead of the process, in numbers instead of people, in someone else's dream instead of your own. And maybe the most painful truth is this: you've begun to place your faith in doubt instead of hope. I don't believe life is always beautiful, but I do believe if a person still holds on to faith, they still hold a part of their soul untouched. A woman once wrote to me after hearing a reading like this, I used to think I was weak for losing my faith, but now I see I was just learning to believe more deeply instead of easily. That sentence haunts me still, because I realized sometimes losing faith is the first step to learning how to believe again, consciously, maturely. There was a time you believed hard work would guarantee success. Then you believed kindness would always be loved. Then you believed good things come to good people. And life proved otherwise. You started doubting. You laughed bitterly. You told yourself it's better not to believe, less pain that way. And that's okay. Even the strongest souls sometimes forget the light they once carried. But the miracle is this: you don't need to find your faith again. You only need to remember that it never truly left. It's been waiting for you to return and hold its hand once more. The ember is still there, just waiting for the warmth of an embrace from your own arms. You only need to keep a single spark alive in the deepest corner of yourself. One day, that small flame will be warm enough to light up the entire path you've walked. If you're on a journey to return to yourself, to what you once believed in, just whisper silently in your heart, I never lost it. I only needed to remember. And if this feels like a voice you've heard long ago, hold on to it. Because that's not me speaking. It's your soul gently knocking on a door you once closed. You don't need to write it down. You don't need to share it. You don't need to prove it. You only need to feel that you are returning, quietly but deeply. And on this journey, you are not alone. At last, we arrive at the door that leads to the most unexpected thing: the past. What you thought had left is returning. Not to haunt you, but to return something you believed was lost forever. Are you ready to look back? not with eyes clouded by doubt, but with a heart that has stopped blaming. When you no longer think about it, the past reappears, not to hurt you, but to hand back the piece of your soul you left behind in the pursuit of being enough. Maybe it's a distant friend who suddenly reaches out. Maybe it's an old dream that wakes you with tears in the night, or simply a sense of peace that returns without warning. When Sagittarius is brave enough to look back, without bitterness, without shame, that is when you cross the final threshold of maturity, forgiving yourself for the path you once chose. And in that forgiveness, you realize money was never the issue. What truly matters is that you've stopped using money to fill the spaces where love didn't get a chance to heal. You walked through fire, you held on to the light, and now you've returned to yourself. If you are a Sagittarius or carry the heart of one, remember this. Money may come, success may come, but never trade your truth just to hold on to something others think is enough. You weren't born to live by the mold. You were born to be yourself, radiant, honest, and fiercely free. Keep going. Not because you are lacking, but because your soul knows there's a deeper, stronger, more peaceful version of you waiting at the end of every honest choice. If this video awakens something in your heart, leave a word. It doesn't have to be long, just true. And don't forget, share it with someone who's feeling lost. Because once light is lit, it always finds a way to spread.